Chapter 2. Marcus Gellter heard music that no one else seemed to notice. Music emanating from inside a nearby room that only he was aware of. There was no way to fight the music, no way to ignore it. So whenever he could, Marcus tried to play along. Marcus had just sat down on the stool in the corner of the dining room, hugging his cello beneath his knees and raising the bow, when his mother called out to him, "Marcus, will you come up here, please?" Her voice sounded far away, and he knew that she parked herself at the computer in her bedroom upstairs, her usual spot for hiding from the real world. Marcus felt a knobby object raise up his esophagus. He hadn't even begun practicing yet today, and already his mom was preparing to stop him. He squeezed his hands into fists and then released them slowly before answering. "Could you give me a minute?" Then he drew the bow across the strings, filling the room with a deep, resonant hum that drowned out all of his worries, as well as his mother's reply. Practicing at home always had been difficult. Finding privacy when you have 3 older siblings living under the same roof is akin to discovering a unicorn sleeping under your bed. But recently, the problem had been even more complicated. Marcus's music seemed to be affecting his mother in an unusual way. His mother's younger brother, Shane, had also played the cello. According to everyone in the family, he was really good at it. He had a bright future as a musician. But then something horrible happened. Marcus didn't know the details of Shane's death. Nobody talked about that part of the story. All he knew that Shane had been 12 years old when he died, the same age as Marcus was now. Maybe it was because of the age thing, or maybe it was because Marcus was getting good at the cello. Whenever the case, it was freaking his mother out, and she was talking it out on him, which wasn't fair. It wasn't like Marcus could stop playing. If he did, he'll be overwhelmed by all the music that no one else seemed to hear. To Marcus, the sounds of the strings and the bass of the reeds were so bright and vibrant, the rhythms so wild and wicked, he couldn't believe that he was alone in his experience of it. And as a young child, he spoke inconsistently about it, humming the melodies aloud so people would believe him. Eventually his parents took him to see a doctor, who suggested medication to stop the hallucinations. Afterwards, Marcus realized that maybe his music should become a secret instead. He didn't want to end it, even if it was all in his head. This was around the time he finally began to pick up whatever instrument was available in the music classroom, at the school, and from his uncle's old collection at home, to try to mimic the glorious melodies consistently flowing around him. It was a perfect transition. Stop talking about the music and start making it. The change enveloped his parents' fear, but it also invited attention from teachers and other adults who were fascinated by Marcus's sudden talent. Though Marcus liked the attention, he wasn't sure he deserved it. Part of him felt like a fake. It wasn't as though he was inviting the competitions himself. I meant combinations himself. There were coming to him from somewhere beyond this world. Marcus, he jerked the bow away from the strings and then opened his eyes. His mother was standing in the dining room doorway, clutching a piece of paper. Marcus hadn't realized how lost he gotten in the music, nor how peaceful the afternoon had become. To his surprise, she smiled. Oops, sorry, I skipped in some parts. Sorry, Mom, he said. I was distracted. To his surprise, she smiled. It's okay. She held out the piece of paper to him. I just got this message. Figured it was easier to print it out and just bring it down to you. What is it? Read it and find out. Dear Miss Gellter, my name is L. Delphinium, and I am the director of the Luxembourg Academy for the Performing Arts in New York State. I work with several professional scouts around the world, and when one of them attended your son's recent recital at the Orland campus in Ohio, she was overcome by the power of his performance. We would love it if Marcus come to study with us. At Luxembourg, Marcus will have access to the most accomplished visiting facility from the New York City's best compositions. We have attached the file that includes our brochure from attendance information about our music program and what we stand for. We realize it's a little late in the season for an invitation such as this. However, it was our guiding principle that we seek out the most promising young talent, and we would be remiss if we did not at least try. With a student like Marcus, we would be willing to cover all tuition, board, and any other travel expenses. It would cost you nothing. Please let us know at your earliest convenience. Best regards, L. Delphinium, Director, Luxembourg Academy. Is this a joke? Marcus asked. I can't imagine so. It's insane. There was a scout at the Orland recital. You're a talented kid, Marcus, she said. Don't act so surprised. And you wouldn't mind if I went? I'll be delighted if you went. She folded her arms and glanced it. She looked a little too delighted. Before he could answer, a blast of noise resonated in Marcus's ears. A choreography filled with instruments too many to name. This wasn't like any music he ever heard before. It was more like a scream. Marcus flinched, and then, glancing at his mother, tried to disguise his shock as wide-eyed expression. She didn't hear it at all. End of chapter 2.